When you came out, who do you remember being the nicest to you first? When you look at that, who was so embracing of you when you came out?
When I came out, the person that I told first was my best friend Kamika. At that point, I was 22 years old, and we've been best friends since 5th grade. So when I told her, she was like, Kevy, I knew. And I was like, how you knew? She recalled this one time that this guy, I gave him a little extra eye, and we saw each other, and she picked up in that moment, and she was just so loving and so warm. So Kamika, shout out to you. This is how many years? 25 years of being friends? Love you, girl.
When I first came out, I met this girl. She's a trans woman. Before she transitioned, I worked with her mom at a restaurant. She introduced me to her daughter, who was not transitioned yet, and she wanted us to date. And then, this was when we were 16. And then we were like, oh girl, we are women. So we were like, no, we're not gonna date. And so this woman, her name is Madison Alexis. She is my sister. We have been friends for over 20 years. 22 years to be exact. Literally my sister. Yeah.
A fantastic support system all around. My family's basically been there since day one. But I have to say it was my best friend, Tina. She helped me discover and break down a lot of the barriers I have, and now they're just one of the fiercest, most chaotic, crazy people I know, and that's still inspirational to me this day.
That's high praise coming from you.
Yeah, it is. I'm the drag persona of what they actually are.
Nice.
The most love that I had in my life is I really didn't feel like I acted on my sexuality until I was an adult. But I was always a very, very queer person, and I never really felt like I had to come out to my family, and that's why I feel like that to me was the most loving moment, because when I decided to start okay, I just didn't want to date people, and I'll start to date and see what happens, and nobody in my family treated me any differently, and that made me feel the most loved.
I know that I talked about her on season 5, but I had recently lost my grandmother when I was on season 5. But my grandmother was not, of course I had my mother, I had my grandmother, but my Aunt Mimi is my name for her. She's been my soul mother my whole life. And she was the first person I came out to. She's still the person I go to for counseling on everything. She's one of the most resilient, open-hearted, open-minded, spiritually advanced people I've ever known, and she's raised me since birth. And I always felt sad that she didn't really get mentioned on season 5, so I made sure to bring her up a lot on All Star 7.
And was it just sort of letting you be yourself? Was it giving you a feminine piece of clothing? What did she really do for you?
It was that she said she always knew, and I think that's something. When there's someone in your life, when you come out and they say, you don't have to come out to me, I always knew, that feels amazing, because it feels like there was someone who saw you the whole time, and that you're not made wrong, and there's nothing wrong with you, because this is who you were born to be and who you always were.
Oh my gosh, this is so long ago. I don't think that there's any one specific person, but from at this point in my life right now, and I look back at, where I'm at, and I think about all the people that have been involved in my life that are my surrogate family, that are not my biological family. They are people that were there when when maybe my parents didn't understand, and you found your drag mom, for instance. So I think about that a lot. I think about the community that I get to be a part of, and yes, and family.
I had a teacher in school. Her name was Miss Jones, and she is also queer, but I didn't kind of put 2 and 2 together at the time. And it was just, I used to wear makeup in school. I was in a private school, so I was very blessed that it was small classes. I was never bullied. It was, I was on the rugby team. I was the class clown. That's how I kind of got away from it. I thought, if I can make these people laugh, I think that's how I got into comedy and stuff as well. But there was this one teacher, and he'd always, take the makeup off, go and stand outside this office for 2 hours. And Miss Jones would always walk past and, be like, I think your makeup looks beautiful. And And then years later, I started a gay night in North Wales, which is a very small town, and she came and watched the performance, and I was like, I knew you were a big lesbo.
I thought you were going to say that guy who bullied you was there with his husband. Because that's usually the one.
Yeah, that's usually the way, or asking for something else in the DMs, yeah.
Absolutely.